Well, this is a package with the stuff that arrived today. It's not all of this week's anime, and it's not all I'm going to open up. That one's obviously very notable anime, but we're going to add these on top of it. That, of course, is not anime, but we're going to open these other boxes. I'm not thinking about tonight too much. I'm tired of thinking. Just fucking do. So in here we have additional 5 trackers. Let's see, there's 2 of them. So the idea is they're this, which is very similar to what's on the top of the controllers. Actually, I guess I have a controller right here. Not exactly the same. But the idea is it has a pretty good idea of where the position is. You can see here. Screws onto normal camera mounting, and that's for certain add-ons. And the idea is, they're usable with these things. Like this is a belt. These are 2 wrist things, and they have little screw-on points. And the idea is this kind of allows it to track more. So with some games, you can track. The idea there being your feet and your waist. And the reason that interests me is because one of the things I like to do in VR chat is dancing, and it only allows me to dance, for my upper body because I only have upper body movement. It doesn't interpolate the lower stuff, and I'm not any good at it, but I don't know. I want to explore. Can VR allow me to dance more? It'd be nice if I had I don't know, I probably do have the ability to record it or capture it or stream it on to Twitter or something like that. I don't know. Anyways, this other huge box I'm opening up, I'm not quite sure how well this will look and be packaged, and if this is really that notable, especially since there's a bag inside the box, and already you're not getting a very good look at this. But I'm kind of curious what this will be like. This is an experiment in, I'm going to call it mobile console gaming, kind of, but it's not exactly mobile gaming as mobile gaming tends to mean, but rather the ability to set up on the fly. This is supposed to be a plastic bag, obviously, with something in it. Being really frustrating. There we go. It's supposed to be a portable gaming monitor. It says up there. And I chose this one over some of the more instead of like the suitcase style, because maximum resolution is 1080p, 3 RGB. That's, well, whatever. So this actually supports being a oh fuck, I brought this out. Some of y'all are probably curious, aren't y'all? Let's see if we can quickly pop it open, because it's pricey. I mean, this could also enable other anime related stuff, but for the time being, the idea is this might help with testing of setting up of stuff. Am I mistaken? Does it support HDMI? I see HDMI times 2, Type C, USB times 1. So it can take a USB input. Okay, cool. Not a USB output, so it can't power the NES Mini and SNES Classic on its own, apparently. But that's okay. I've already figured out how those are working. Set this over there. Here's their manual, because I'm kind of curious what the device itself looks like. I see there's a lot of other components with it, but this appears to be the main deal. I'm trying to think if that's a weird smell or not that I smell. So those are speakers. Oh, I see. Looks like that comes off. And you have a little display. So, you know, it's supposed to be not the most robust thing in the world, but intended for travel. Alright. That, I think, satisfies me enough for the camera. Unfortunately, if it doesn't satisfy y'all, I don't know. Does anything I ever do completely satisfy y'all? And, let's see, moving back over here. My left anchor was not anchoring. Two Nintendo Switch games, Dragon Ball FighterZ and Mega Man 11. Familiar franchises, yes. Alright. On top here, possibly hiding underneath this, it could be a girl. We gotta check. I think there's a piece of shit underneath this. You know, this damn crap sticking to it. And of course this fucking shit is not coming off. Only like it should. Okay, well we put that aside and we have... Let's take a peek at the back. I see Region A, I see English dub. Special features. I'm not sure. Is this really saying anything there? Because I see seriously episodes. Those doesn't seem to be talking about special features. And the unfortunate thing is, as usual, you know, I don't know what I'm not to watch this because this is far into the Gintama series and I've only seen a little bit. It's a little art book. These images only suggest very vague things to me and lack any real meaning. On account of the fact that that's all I really know about the series is general level things. So we have Blu-ray 1, Blu-ray 2, Blu-ray 3, DVD 1, DVD 2, DVD 3, DVD 4. Yeah, kind of reversible cover, I guess. Cool. Next up we have Brave Witches. We're gonna have to take this off to see if there's any girl under there. Of course, stuff is... Well, that one wasn't so stubborn, and it kind of was. I mean, there was an ES, but there was also Lady Bottom. Anyways, thing on the inside is covered with plastic. And either my thumbnail's too short or Funimation's created the ultimate in annoying. Okay, this thing's being a real piece of shit. Okay. So let's see. Once again, Blu-ray episodes 1 through 9, 10 through 13, then DVD 1 through 7, and 8 through 13. A lot more of them seem to be wearing swimsuits than before. Well, okay, maybe it's just like... Oh, maybe those are the same two characters? No. I don't know. But as usual, they're not really wearing a whole lot. Did I look at the back? I didn't. I see a Region A and a B, an English dub. Includes episodes 1 through 12 and episode 13 OVA. Textless songs and trailers. And I don't see anywhere it may be talking about commentary. No pants, no skills, no problem. We looked on the inside, right? Yeah, and we totally forgot to put this back. Okay. Next up, Pop Team Epic, which I do believe made a lot of noise, I guess. But first things first, we have to check under the sticker for girl. Oh jeez, a little bit of sticker there was trying to hide a little bit of girl. But yeah, as you can see, there's a hand and a knee. Very, very important. Can't not uncover them. Let's see. Before we fall in love, oh look, different slip cover and cover art, and actually this works out really well because you know, this looks less Pop Team Epic cover art than that, because that's kind of what you want to be on the front of it, because that's what people see when they see images of it, whereas this may be what people think of when they think of the show itself. Having watched it, I guess, maybe not. Excuse me. Region A only, but it does have an English dub. Text lists opening and closing, songs, trailers. There's a part of me that can't help but think that it probably isn't on the fucking manga that inspired the anime. Or is that's not fucking, that's more own the damn manga, own the shit manga, I don't know. I see a 1 with episodes 1 through 9, I see a 2 with episodes 10 through 12. Oh, is this Blu-ray only? Yes it is. And that is the way that it is. Okay, cool. And last but not least for today is Dragon Ball Super Part 5. With the character on it that I can't help but feel is a missed opportunity. What I mean is, the character, I guess they referred to them as Goku Black. You know, because they look kind of like Goku except they're dressed in black. And I can't help but think they should have been called Gokudo. Kudo being the Japanese word for black, the color black. But I guess before we go too much further, we've got 1 and 2. But no, the Japanese didn't do a play on words. Instead, they just kept it simple. It's like Goku Burako, which would be a black Goku. Literally, the words are not the play on words. Anyways, Region A, English dub. Let's see, extras. Coffee break with Mayan Trunks. Textless opening song featured Trunks version and textless closing songs. Trailers. Okay. And yeah. We looked at the inside, that's right. So, where's the DVD version, you asked? I think it arrives tomorrow. There were a couple of other things that might have been slated to come out today, but these are 2 things that arrived today. These actually arrived last week, and maybe were slated to be released last week. But I guess with all the overlap, at least there's, as long as there's enough stuff to show in my anime DVD collection update, I guess that's okay. And here's the anime DVD collection update. So, I finished watching Knights and Magic, and let's see, I'm trying to remember what I was saying last week. I think I was comparing it to In Another World, starting my life in another world with my cell phone or something like that. Because there's a similar, we put a main character into a world where they are overpowered and stuff like that. And I was also comparing it to the Saga of Tanya the Evil, where tonally, this is actually more similar to cell phone, but it just so happens that its setup is similar enough to Tanya that it's an amusing contrast comparison. But with the content of this, I was saying that it kind of had this interesting thing where it was more focused on less appeasing. Well, I guess I didn't say it this way last week, but I think it's less about appeasing the main audience in terms of what the audience may want if they were in his position, so much as it's really about the audience enjoying watching him being pleased kind of in his position. To give a difference, I probably mentioned this kind of comparison last week, where Cell Phone sets the guy up and he's just overpowered in everything, and you know, basically wherever he goes he makes things happy, but the following he develops around him are basically a harem developing. You know, it doesn't even really try to hide it. It just kind of begins a certain way, but then it becoming an obvious harem where it's just like, okay, well, now the girls have to decide what that means their relationship with him is. And that's, I think that sort of thing is, oh yes, you know, it'd be really cool to be overpowered and recognized by people, whereas this one, the main character is really, he's really just into mechas. So this series is really about him liking those and not about, yes, and you know, if he does a really good job of it, you know, he'll get all the money and all the women and all the stuff. You know, it's when stuff like that, opportunities like that kind of come up, it's focused around him wanting to learn more about mechas. So it's a bit less, I guess you could call something like Cell Phone cringy. I wouldn't exactly call it that, but some people could actually, you know, watch it and feel that, and I can kind of understand that. Whereas this one, it kind of doesn't, it almost feels like it could go that far, but it keeps not going that far. And probably one of the best examples late series is like, you know, when conflict finally does show up, normally you would expect him as the main character to be a sort of love interest for, oh, this is a princess of another kingdom, something like that. But he's not the one set up for that. He's the main character, and the focus around him being the main character isn't about that. Instead, they throw that onto a side character. But really, for him, the people he gathers around him aren't, oh, this is a growing harem. This is, you know, a fucking workforce that are kind of attached to his rising, I would call it success, but more like his momentum, I guess. Rising success might be the right word, but you know, it's not like they're riding coattails. It's more like, you know, he can't do it himself, and he's always kind of had that personality. So like, there are people who are childhood friends that he's taught stuff to. There are people who used to be mentors in one way, but are now loyal followers, I guess, for lack of better words. Honorable people. You know, people are basically growing and adapting, and you know, it's interesting. But overall, the conflict, I wouldn't say, I would say it kind of hampered it a little bit. I mean, we needed to kind of see where this sort of stuff would go, and what they did with it was actually really good. But at the same time, you know, it didn't prove to be different enough such that the exhaustion from having watched everything the series had more or less thematically stayed with up to that point felt too different. And at the same time, you know, it didn't feel like it deviated from that enough to not have the exhaustion feel like it was slightly building up, while at the same time, I don't know, kind of being a little black and white with a couple of small things that detract from it a little bit. But overall, it was this interesting thing where it was more about a creator versus a creator. And in that regard, you know, it kind of stayed pretty thematically consistent throughout it. I really like that about it. But, you know, of course, Saga of Tanya the Evil is actually really, really compelling, and you kind of want to cheer for a side in that one and see what happens, and you're kind of horrified. Anyways, next up I decided to watch World End, which I have to admit, part of the motivation for that was curiosity about the tone. And the tone has not been what I thought it would be, but it's also not what I thought it would be after I saw what it was doing. So what I mean is, tonally, I was almost wondering if I would see something sort of like Maybe sort of like Sunday Without God, which I'm not sure if a lot of people here have watched. And I wouldn't say it was necessarily the most spectacular one, but it was a thematically interesting, a kind of... Well, there's a lot of shows that are about end-of-world sorts of scenarios that are, about a degenerating, dying world that are very dark and grungy. I think Ergo Proxy is an example of one of these. But Sunday Without God has got this kind of warmth to it, like, dying in a bed surrounded by loved ones, passing away peacefully sort of thing. Except it's maybe not exactly that, but it kind of has that sort of thread running through it. And I kind of almost wondered, based on, some of this artwork, if this would be similar to that, because it talks about world end stuff. And it isn't really, but it's a little more battly, but it's playing around with its elements a lot more. I'm not quite sure what the right word to describe this as, because I don't want to use a stupid simple word like, oh, it's good. I want to say that it's I don't know. It's just playing around with its world building via characters really well. There's a lot of nice characters. I actually like the main character's goblin friend. I don't know if you'd actually call him that, but he's a pretty chill dude. He's kind of awesome. A lot of the girls are actually kind of amusing, and I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, because there's this interesting relationship dynamic, and it's establishing rules, but it's not saying we're hard breaking them. It's saying it's kind of soft breaking them, kind of. It's leaving you kind of liking the way all this stuff is building together. Now, that said, I'm not sure if I'm looking forward to seeing if it's going to end, per se, because I'm not sure what I'm curious about long term. There's maybe always just these dangling threads that have me curious and wanting to watch more. But, I'm splitting a lot of my time in the evenings up with multiple things. I'm still trying to do Twitch streaming with Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate. Eventually I'm going to reach a slowdown point at that, because even though I am going to be playing later tonight with my brother and his friend, on my own time I'm not doing multiplayer stuff pretty much at all. I have allowed myself to go on one or two harvest tours at higher level areas, but only harvest tours. For everything else, I've been kind of waiting for us to all be either synced up, or basically we decide to go separate ways. And the notable thing there is it's in the hub multiplayer area where G-Rank is presumably going to happen, because that's what it was like in Tri, or at least Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate. I'm not sure if I got that high on Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate. It's kind of harder to get up there when you just do everything on your own and only have so much energy. But the point is, at a certain point, I'm not sure how much more single player progress I'll be able to make, and if I'll be maybe trying not to get too far ahead of my brother and his friends or something like that. We'll play with those as they come, but I think for most of you, my subscribers, you don't care about that part. I guess usually y'all are more interested in my opinion on the things I am doing, and I am enjoying Monster Hunter Generations Ultimate, but I'm also, as I'm getting up there and having to fight certain monsters, clearly getting a little more frustrated. Because the game kind of works in a, here's a bunch of annoyances, and choose the ones that you're going to handle with items, the ones you're going to handle with armor, and the ones that you're just going to have to deal with maneuvering, I guess. And obviously for some of the monsters, I kind of think that the way they move and attack and do stuff is actually really intuitive and great, and then there's other monsters that I think are dumbass pieces of shit. And I don't think I would exactly describe the Tigrex as that, but I really hate fighting Tigrex. There's a lot of little dumb things about it that just... bleh. And, you know, the higher you get, the harder they get, especially to take on your own. With G rank being, oh yes, let's all team up to take them out. And of course, they're a lot easier when there's a lot of you doing it, in theory. I guess we're gonna have to see. Anyways, yeah. It's all stuff. And yeah. As for VR chat, yeah, I've been enjoying that. I haven't really been hanging out with people. Sometimes hanging out just sort of happens on the fly, and I kind of enjoy those a little bit more. Usually I have time limits for how long I can do that because I do it all standing. I don't sit down and tell the avatar to pretend I'm standing. And obviously I'm going to be adding in additional trackers so that I can, in theory, do more dancing. We'll have to see though. It's not like not having these has prevented me from dancing. It's just prevented, it's just limited me to, you know, doing hand motions and upper body stuff. Which is partially why you don't see me disappearing in there for long periods of time. Although I think some of y'all may be Steam subscribe or Steam friends of mine. And I think there's been a couple of evenings where it probably looked like I was on VR chat much longer than I actually was, because when you exit the game, it throws up two pop-ups saying, hey, do you want to install I forget what it was. Probably a Microsoft.NET framework stuff, blah blah blah. And until you close those and, you know, basically say no, cancel, blah, it thinks VR chat is still running, because technically the executable is probably sitting there in the background and waiting for a response from prop mode. But for the most part, no, I've just been, you know, going in, enjoying looking at people, finding people to brofist. Finding little lolly cat girls to pet, sometimes Pikachus, lots of birds. There's a lot of birds. And, you know, some people doing meme stuff that are actually enjoyable, whereas others just don't understand how to not be annoying. They get blocked. Well, anyways, that's all just kind of social stuff in general. But overall, I'm still enjoying the VR stuff, which is good, you know, because I've sunk a lot of money into it. Now, the real question is, will I enjoy the dancing with the additional thing? Because that's pretty much, what, another $400 or something? I mean, I think these were like somewhere in the $80 to $100 range each, and then the belts themselves were cheap at $30. But I don't know. Anyways, that's all stuff. Yeah, that's stuff. Y'all have a nice week.